The end of Xbox continues to come on closer. It really seems that Phil Spencer really screwed up the Xbox brand. I'm surprised that they haven't replaced him yet. I think that, the problem with how Phil Spencer is handling Xbox is very simple. They're more focusing on, putting the games on PC and Game Pass and actually selling consoles, okay? Imagine if PlayStation did this, okay? Oh, you don't actually need an Xbox. You can just play your games on PC, okay? You don't need to buy a PlayStation, okay? There's no need to buy a PlayStation, okay? Which technically gives PlayStation a monopoly over video games because Xbox, there is no reason to buy one. I have one. I don't really play it that much, but again, why have an Xbox if you get a PC? Okay, a lot of laptops can run a lot of games on Xbox now. Even probably not the cheap ones like a Chromebook or something can't run it, but a lot of the middle laptops can probably run a lot of the games that are coming to Xbox. You probably don't need you don't need to have like PCs and computers. You can really get a powerful PC now. You don't have to spend, of course, if you want the best of the best, you have probably to spend like $5,000 still. But if you want to play a majority of the major games, you can still probably get a standard PC for like $1,500. It is, but again, consoles are always supposed to be the cheaper alternative to PC. Okay, but now PC gaming is getting cheaper and cheaper, and that's the problem. But then Xbox refuses to listen to us. They refuse to listen to us. I think what they need to do if they want to have the next console successful is get rid of Phil Spencer. Okay? But again, it's kind of like Lucasfilm getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy. It's never going to happen. Okay? We have been begging for Lucasfilm to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy and replace someone who respects the Star Wars source material. But that's not going to happen because Disney doesn't care. Okay? And Disney is going the same way as Xbox. Microsoft, I think, is fine because Windows is still the most popular operating platform. Microsoft makes most of the money from Windows. So, of course, the console brands are not going to do very well. I think someone is going to come out and fight against PlayStation. But we might be seeing, and PlayStation isn't doing too well either. Okay? They have no games for the PlayStation. Of course, you can buy anime games, but PS Vita, we learned that lesson very quickly with the PS Vita, okay? No one buys consoles in the West for anime games, okay? No one buys consoles in the West for anime games, okay? No one does. Absolutely no one does, okay? Absolutely no one buys consoles to play Anime Swap 100, okay? This has been proven time and time again with the failure of the PS Vita and the underperformance of the 3DS. Besides Nintendo, the only other games that got on the 3DS were anime games that no one wanted. Like, if I want to do a 3DS game, well, none of the big recognizable franchises was not on the 3DS, so you had to buy more obscure Nintendo IPs, or you had to stick with anime games that no one wanted, okay? That nobody cared about, okay? But, yeah, Xbox at this point is cooked. If they continue down Phil Spencer's treacherous path. And of course, Xbox is not the only thing that's struggling. Disney is, and you'll say, but Disney's movies are doing well, but Disney's struggling, and still everything else, especially the thing that they need the most, which is the parks. Disney is still struggling to get people into the parks, which is like 1/3 of the money Disney makes, or half the money Disney makes is from the parks. Okay, that is a problem if people don't want to go to Disney parks because that's where Disney's money is made. So, of course, Disney's going to continue losing money if the parks don't make money. Of course, Xbox is not really needed much for Microsoft's success, as Windows is still going to be very successful without Xbox. But it will be sad. It will be sad a lot of people's childhood who grew up with the 360 in America and, who tried to stick with Xbox, but it seems that the decisions and choices they continue to make upset a lot of us. Like, they really do. Okay, Microsoft's handling of Rare and continued handling of Rare. I get it, game development takes longer now, but there's a lot of IPs that Rare has that Microsoft could use that are just sitting there doing nothing, collecting dust. Okay, you know, you have Halo. Oh wait, we ruined Halo. Okay, we ruined that game because 303 Industries doesn't. We let go of Bungie for some reason and have this amateur developer. It'll be different if 343 Industries are just made by former Bungie employees and Bungie and the rest of Bungie that's moved on to make he kept some of the employees there to get the people to understand things about Halo and Halo Universe, but they couldn't do that. Okay, a lot of the exclusives people just don't care about Starfield. They bought Bethesda but did nothing with it. They made a game called Starfield that no one liked. Why not give us a new Fallout game or a new Elder Scrolls game? Well, wait, that's because they would rather launch incomplete games and actually make games that people want to buy. Again, the downfall of Xbox is just a greater downfall of the gaming industry as a whole, and I think we're heading towards a second gaming crash. Of course, I think that Nintendo will not very be much affected by this because Nintendo is a whole different beast in itself. Nintendo is the only gaming company, at least as of now, that has been very successful. Nintendo is one of the few gaming companies left that is still very successful left. So, yeah, Nintendo game consoles are not selling as well as when the Switch came out, obviously, because the Switch is an 8-year-old console. Of course, Nintendo needs to release a new console because the Switch is 8 years old. They can't rely on 8-year-old technology forever. But the fact that the Switch is still selling as well as the PS5 is very concerning for Sony as well, because Sony isn't really making that much money, off the PS5 anymore. They're actually making less money than Xbox than Microsoft is off the Xbox. And the only reason Xbox is making more money is because of Game Pass, but there was little reason to buy new consoles. There is zero reason to buy a console. They just take up space now, and we might see gaming change in a way that a lot of people may not be expecting. If consoles want to survive, they have to justify their existence and actually have games that come out on time, and actually have games that come out on a timely manner, not once a generation. Or entire game franchises skipping entire generations because they don't know what to do with them, like BioShock. Yeah, the last BioShock game we've seen, besides remasters and ports, was 2013. For example, I will continue making this comparison. The gap between Borderlands 2 and 3, not counting the pre-sequel, which is technically glorified DLC for Borderlands 2, but Borderlands 2 and 3, 7 or 8 years. This is a problem in the gaming industry that no one wants to solve, and it's development time. The biggest problem with modern gaming, in my opinion, is development time. Back in the 360 era, major franchises would get multiple games per entry. You'll be lucky if you get one. You'll be lucky if you get one game per entry. And I think that's what's killing the gaming industry. That and microtransactions and pay to win and gacha, battle pass, swap that no one wants, and unless it's free to play. The only time those games are ever successful is that the games are free. Because you know what? You don't have to pay any money, so they're going to have to try to scum you other ways. But the gaming industry is dying. It's not the thing it used to be. Games are not as cool as they used to be anymore. No one really cares if you're missing out on the newest game anymore. Maybe YouTubers might. Maybe in the YouTube circle, you haven't played Elden Ring yet, but no one really cares anymore. Movies, it's much more different, and music, they're still you're missing out on the new Taylor Swift album or the new Deadpool movie, but no one really says, you're missing out, because there's nothing coming out. So of course there's nothing to miss out on. There has not been a single big game this year. I think Power World released, that was the big game that came out early this year, but you don't really have any major games come out this year. You literally have nothing. Nothing. Zilts. There's people whining about the state of the gaming industry because the gaming industry is just going to get worse before it gets better until game developers realize that games is about it'd be about quality not so it'd be about making games that are good, you know, making games that are successful and profitable, not making let's care about how many pores are on someone's face or how many hairs are on something. Like no one gives a crap about that stuff. Only like graphic nerds give a crap about that bullshit. Okay, people want games that are playable, fun, free of microtransactions, free of bugs and glitches. We want gaming to be back to where it was in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Okay, with less improved graphics. Okay, and yes, graphics have improved drastically. Okay, but the fact that games are taking so long to develop now is the biggest problem of the gaming industry. Like PlayStation and Xbox have no games. There was no new games worth buying. None. Zero. None. Okay. And that's the part, there are of course some IPs that still, release games like very frequently, like Sonic. So if you're a fan of Sonic, you'll still get new games very frequently. Or if you play Nintendo games, obviously, Nintendo has a lot of IPs that people like, even Nintendo is doing this. But at least Nintendo, they're, giving people offerings. But the difference with Nintendo is Nintendo has always had long development times on the AAA games, like 3D Mario, Mario Kart. That's why you'll usually get one 3D Mario, one Mario Kart, one Smash Bros. Per generation, because those games take a long time to develop. And Nintendo knows that they're delivering, but again, the difference between Nintendo and all these other game developers is Nintendo cares about quality. So those long development times seem justified. But you have a game like Cyberpunk that takes 10 years to make and it still comes out unfinished. That's a problem. Or Suicide Squad. I bet that game has been developed for like 8 years. Oh wait, that game is garbage. Up 0 out of 10. That's what people. Dragon's Dogma 2. No one talks about Dragon's Dogma 2. Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is dead now. Less players than Overwatch. Yes, you can really look at the Steam numbers. Helldivers 2 has less people playing it than Overwatch 2. And yes, I can use the excuse that Overwatch 2 was free or blah blah blah, but it's still not an excuse that Helldivers 2 was one of the biggest games of the year. And we're gonna even compare Helldivers 2 to Palworld. Palworld still has 100,000 people playing the game, which is a lot of people. Helldivers 2 has 20,000, maybe less now. Okay, this is a problem of the modern gaming industry. They can't seem to get people actually caring about these games, especially multiplayer games. Those games are designed where people keep coming back to them over and over and over again. A single player game like Palworld, it makes sense that game's gonna have 90% of its player base dropping. I actually think Palworld is also multiplayer here as well, which is why it still has a massive player base even to now. Because if Palworld is a single player game, it will probably drop to like 10,000 or 9,000, 5,000 players. Because guess what? It's a single player game. Those types of games don't really last that long in terms of popularity. Okay. With very few exceptions, okay? Palworld is, I think, a multiplayer game. You can play more than one player in Palworld, okay? But yeah, this is another, I think Xbox is one of the greater victims of modern gaming. Kind of like Sega. Sega was once an integral part of gaming. Now they're a seller of a former self. Same thing of Atari, okay? Does anyone even talk about Atari anymore? Probably not. Unless you talk about gaming history, or the one Ariana Grande song where he talks about "You Played Me Like Atari." That's really it. Atari really gets nothing. Okay, no one cares about Atari anymore. It's not really represented in anything anymore. It seems that Xbox is going the way of Sega and Atari. So for all of us that stick with Xbox for all the strong, well, we have to put a RAP for Xbox. And I think the same thing may even happen to PlayStation, which will mean Nintendo is the only gaming company left. Yes, that means I still think someone else will come and to compete with Nintendo, obviously. But maybe I'm gonna we're gonna get off a grim of hope for Xbox. Maybe Xbox can turn the ship around. Okay, because remember Nintendo had the Wii U. Okay, and Nintendo fans had the sick of the Wii U. I had the sick of the Wii U as well. Okay, but the Switch was still very successful afterwards. Hopefully Xbox may be able to turn this around with the next console, but considering that they will probably start Phil Spencer at the lead of Nintendo, though, it really took a little leadership change in Nintendo for Nintendo to turn the Wii U because they didn't understand how to advertise the Wii U. That's why Nintendo the Wii U failed. And Nintendo did because people talk about but the Switch doesn't really have very good third-party support either. So that's not really a big problem. It's because Nintendo didn't really advertise the Wii U that much. Okay? Or that greatly. The Wii U ads were very cringe. Very bad. Nintendo Switch ads are like, yeah, look at these cool games. Buy them. That's basically what the Nintendo Switch ads are. It's not cringy. It's not, a lot of Nintendo's ads are straight to the point. Hey, look at this great adventure we have. This great game that we have out. Like, they make people want to buy a Switch, okay? That's what ads should be. I don't really see many ads for Xbox at all. I think that's another problem. Xbox doesn't really advertise the console that much. Outside of people who have brand loyalty to Xbox, those are the only people who are probably buying the console to begin with. You don't have, Xbox isn't really reaching out to influencers to make people buy their console, which is what Sony is doing, okay? And Nintendo is doing, but Xbox isn't really doing that much, okay? Because I think the reason why Mr. Beast, Sniper Wolf, and all of these major YouTubers, the reason why they all talk about PlayStation is because Sony pays them money to advertise the console. Obviously, all like the Mr. Beast PS5 giveaway and stuff, obviously Sony pays Mr. Beast to give away, that's an example, to give away PlayStation. I think if Xbox wants to succeed in the next generation, they have to get these influencers to, and streamers to advertise a console. Okay, they need to do that, obviously, because of course you can still buy Xbox for games like Call of Duty or Fortnite. Okay, you can still buy Xbox for a lot of people buy Xbox for third-party games. Okay, because I asked to buy a new console simply because the last console broke. It didn't work anymore. It was the Xbox One. It didn't work anymore. So that's about the new one because it didn't work. Okay, but I think they really need to get if they want new people to buy Xbox consoles, they really need to get those influencers and streamers to advertise the console. Okay, kind of like they do with Nintendo and PlayStation does. Like even Nintendo, when people say Nintendo's behind the time, at least Nintendo is gaining influencers, singers, people to advertise the console. So, okay, you have songs literally referencing Nintendo in songs now, like major songs, not like minor songs. Like same thing with PlayStation. There was a whole TikTok song about the PS5. Does Xbox have those? No. Does Xbox have every major YouTuber banging over backwards for Sony, for Microsoft and Xbox? No. Okay. And of course, Microsoft needs to utilize their games IPs more. I think. For example, like with Paper Mario, bringing back the old Paper Mario, why don't you bring back Banjo-Kazooie? Why don't you bring back Halo, like in the old style? Or Xbox will never do that because they would rather, have something like Halo Infinite that no one plays because no one wants to play the paper and Halo games. Okay? But yep, that's about this video here. And there is my rant about the downfall of Xbox. Yes, we are done.